Welcome back to the Take a Chance on You podcast, hosted by me, Alexandra Forsyth. It's been an absolutely phenomenal couple of days. Currently on day 2 at the DTX Technology Conference here in London. I've had the absolute pleasure of interviewing guests for the podcast. I will be passing the mic to Nasser Arif, who is the cybersecurity manager at NHS. Nasser, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's brilliant to finally meet you. We've been connected for a while, so meeting you in person is a lot better. So it's really nice.
It is. And I've been saying with DTX, there's such a community feeling here.
Yeah.
We have the 9 different stages. We're looking at data, AI, cybersecurity, how to stay agile. There's vendors here, but there's just so many people. There's students as well, and it's an opportunity for us to connect. And I think we need to do more of this in person, really, because since COVID, we're working a little bit more from home, remotely. So getting back together in person is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a completely different vibe in person. I mean, yes, virtual tools are still brilliant. We can use them. They're very convenient.
Yeah.
But there's just something else about having those in-person conversations. The body language, the enthusiasm, you see it.
Yeah.
And it actually motivates you as well. So when you're talking to someone, it just brings out your passion a lot more. So it's brilliant.
But talk to me a little bit, because obviously the NHS healthcare, huge topics in cyber, well, huge industry, I should say, in cybersecurity. But talk to me a little bit about what you do and how do you think, I mean, what's been going on with healthcare and cyber this year and where you think we're going?
Of course. So currently I'm the cybersecurity manager for 2 large NHS trusts in Northwest London. So I look after a lot of the day-to-day cyber. So that's the incident response, managing the team, cyber awareness, compliance, bit of everything, different hats. One thing that I'm quite passionate about, and the reason I'm at DTX, is the focus on human cyber and how people can be our biggest strength.
Yeah.
Within the healthcare space at the moment, the number of threats naturally increases. Healthcare is always a big target, but I feel there's so much we can do to bring NHS staff members, especially, on board on the journey we have as cyber professionals.
I love that, because so day 2, I've been moderating a panel on the main stage, and I actually gave my own talk about businesses, strategy. Bringing employees on the journey is huge. I think sometimes with technology, we're thinking quick and fast. We want to implement tooling. We want to build an LM. We want to be at the forefront of AI, but actually focusing on employees, bringing them along with us, storytelling, building that narrative is huge, and we lose sight of that. I think cyber, such a serious topic that we're focusing on, burnout, stress, and we were talking about this before the podcast. It's so rife, but how can we minimize that? Having conversations.
So from personal experience, when I experienced cyber burnout, what really helped, especially within the healthcare space, was for me to branch out and learn about what the business does. In my case, these are large NHS trusts, so these are hospital environments. And it involved me finding out more about what every department does, what their challenges are, what their focus is. I went to our A&E department, for example, and saw our clinicians, they're saving lives on a daily basis. And once you see this, you get a really good idea of what it is you're protecting and the bigger picture. And for me, that was the way to tackle burnout. It was to see what it is my work leads towards and what I'm there for, what my purpose is.
And I think also one thing I always say, we have the cybersecurity teams, so security operations, incident response, as you know, but having conversations more broadly. And I mentioned this on the panel, consultancy, for example, working with a number of different clients across industry, actually talking to their legal team, HR, marketing, brand team, and just it goes back to that human-to-human conversation. That is a way to, I would say, it won't fully mitigate stress and burnout, but it will allow you to understand things from other people's perspective, understand how to get your key message across, because not everybody's technical. I didn't used to be for a long time.
And that's fine.
I'm strategy, I'm business. That is just the way my brain functions.
Exactly.
I've done a lot of work in retail and fashion. So cyber, it's not an afterthought, but it's still very much up and coming.
Yeah. And there's so many different areas.
Same with NHS, really.
Yeah. Exactly. And there's so many different parts of it, right? The cyber industry is huge. There's so many different areas you can get into. And something I re-emphasize to any conference or event I go is there's actually something for everyone. We can all play a part, whether you work in cybersecurity or not. The idea is that inside we all have this, like, I call it like our inner cyber defender. And everyone has that. It's our natural instinct. It's just a matter of unlocking it. And I think if we're already working in cybersecurity, we're in a trusted position to help people bring that out. And it can be a lot of fun as cyber professionals to do that, because you're reminded of the passion you have and the reason you're in the industry. And it's just getting your passion across to other people and showing them why you love working where you work. And you'll find that they start to change their behavior, and you build that relationship as well.
And I don't like when people say dumb it down for somebody. You shouldn't ever have to do that. It's just relaying it in a way that they will understand and take value, as you say, and come along with you on that journey. But remind me, so cybersecurity manager, have you always worked in cybersecurity, and what were you doing before NHS?
So before cyber, I was in IT. So I was an IT field engineer.
Oh, so really techie.
Yeah, techie. But it was more enjoyable for me, because as a complete IT nerd, I used to build computers for fun at home. So
It's
working
crazy
in
when
IT,
people say that to me, or they'll say I just do coding on the weekends, and I did a little bit of Python and C when I was coming into cyber, and I haven't done it for years, so I really have to go back in. But when they say for fun, I think I'm not sure.
To each their own, that's what I'd say. But no, I mean, work-wise, like my education background wasn't actually in IT or cyber. So I did aeronautical engineering, so more about aircraft and rockets and things like that.
God, aerospace, the industry,
literally, and
a lot will happen in the next few years.
Oh yeah, and it's a fascinating industry, that, but I was just struggling at the time to find work in it. So I graduated, and I was like, what am I? How do I get into this industry? And I started working in IT, while I was looking for an aerospace job. But what happened was I just fell in love with the whole IT and cyber field. And I found that especially cybersecurity, the skills I was using, the problem solving, the attention to detail, those core transferable skills I had from aeronautical engineering, they translate so well into this industry. And even though I didn't have that specific cyber background or cyber qualification or cyber degree, I was able to pick up what we were doing and run with it. And since then, I haven't left the cyber industry, and I'm planning to stay forever because I love it.
I know, I always say I'm a lifer.
Oh yeah, of course, cyber for life.
Cyber, I think because it's such an evolving industry nowadays. And we honestly, I don't think any analyst can sit here and say we know what's going to happen in 5 years' time. We just absolutely don't, with investment, with budgeting, with AI right now, but then quantum right around the corner. Everybody's talking about it. I think some of the Fortune 500 companies will try and start implementing quantum computers by next year. But it definitely, with AI, take your time is my best strategy for that. Don't just start, technology and not knowing what to use it for.
I agree with that. And also, I think keeping an open mind in healthcare, you see the use of AI, potentially saving a greater number of lives. And working in cyber, I think it's about reaching out and understanding with suppliers like the ones we have here today, some of them. How can we help you make secure products on day one and not have cybersecurity as an afterthought, but think about it now? So we kind of work together, and you keep eye on, what can things like AI and quantum bring in a positive space? And not forgetting that, because it can be easy to think about the potential negatives and put yourself in this mental space where you start to fear new technology and innovation. I kind of feel
embrace it,
right, and
it's one thing that I said in my talk, and you've said it before. We are empathetic, we're problem solvers, we're critical thinkers. AI can enhance what we already know. It can analyze data patterns. So it's a positive. Obviously, there are risks, and for us from cyber, it's data poisoning, prompt injection, keeping on top of those trends in the news. But going back to with the NHS, what is it that they're doing? They're bringing in some kind of innovation so patients can now have virtual consultations going forward. They may not necessarily need to go into their GP. That's with the NHS, right?
I believe so. I don't know the specifics of that, but
I've seen it on the news. It's been being talked about this week.
There's a lot happening in that space.
The tech element and just going virtual.
Exactly.
You may never need to go in to the GP if you didn't want to.
Exactly. I think it's about improving accessibility. No matter where you are, there's a service you can use, you can reach. If you are still going in, I believe there's still option for that. Of course, I don't think that'll go away, in my opinion. No. It's about catering for everyone's needs. It goes back to even with like something like cyber awareness. There's no one size that fits all. It's about understanding your audience, understanding your staff, and tailoring experiences for them. So something that works for me, for example, from a learning experience, might not work for someone else. And it's just it's great when people try and look at, okay, what works for you? How can we tailor something for you? And I think patients can benefit from that as well.
Well, it reminds me of the neurodiverse angle, and
Exactly.
I've interviewed
Yeah.
3 lovely ladies on the podcast over the last few days, and they've all disclosed that they have ADHD.
Yeah.
And it's been it's been quite insightful for me
Yeah.
to listen to that
Yeah.
and to understand that everybody's, as you say, their needs are different when it comes to
Yeah.
training, adaptability. We want employees to have a voice,
Yeah.
be seen and heard in all aspects of the role,
Yeah.
as well as themselves, because you spend a lot of time at work.
You do.
It's cybersecurity. Yeah, we say Monday to Friday, but God, I'm doing stuff on the weekends. I work all the time.
Of
That's
course.
not
Of
everyone,
course.
but it's really full on.
Yeah.
And just any industry, you spend a lot of time in the workplace, so you need
Yeah.
to account for that.
Yeah, and everyone has different strengths as well, right? And it's so important we bring those out. Like, for example, alongside NHS England, I've been trying to launch a neurodiversity workspace we have amongst the cyber community. And we've launched it, and it's an open space for any cyber or IT professional within the NHS realm to talk about the experiences, to share tips, to share ideas. I've been sharing tips, and these don't have to be things which are super complicated. I've been sharing tips on how you can manage your browser tabs, because sometimes mine go completely out of control. It's crazy.
But thinking about NHS, I mean, they stand to lose a lot when it comes to, NHS healthcare reminds me of financial services.
Yeah.
They just have so much data.
Yeah.
And it's the patient data.
Mhm.
We've seen cyber attacks happen in the past against healthcare,
course.
and it's the patient data. So where do you see kind of healthcare going now we're into 2026? You've mentioned cybersecurity, but is there anything else that you're looking towards?
So in the NHS, one thing that I'm extremely passionate about is empowering our staff to look after themselves and their personal lives.
Accountability.
Right. And having those cyber safe behaviors wherever they are. So being cyber safe doesn't end at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
When you go home, you are carrying those behaviors with you, and you continue to use them because they help your personal life. I've done like training sessions at work where I've talked about things like online gaming, for example. Nothing to do with the NHS, but the online gaming risks, with privacy.
Huge.
The use of MFA is crucial now in online gaming as well.
I mean, if we think about esports, absolutely skyrocketed the last decades. Esports has been around for a long time, but I think with the World Cup next year, I think just sporting in general, it's at the forefront.
Yeah. And those are good topics though, because we all consume that media outside, right? So if you start teaching people about safe behaviors when it comes to those, chances are they're going to understand your work specific training as well, because things like multi-factor authentication, MFA, you can teach someone how to use in their personal life, and what you'll find is they just pick up that information so much faster because it's relevant to their day to day. And then when you then add the NHS or whichever industry you're working in, that layer on top, it just makes sense. It clicks.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key here. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how we do this on a bigger scale. And we are doing this like within the NHS as a whole, but even outside the NHS, how can, different suppliers, and so there's some really good ones here at DTX who, can help with that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. But it goes back to that piece of not trying to talk to non-technical people in a technical way. And I mentioned something in my talk, is it a knowledge gap or is it a behavioral gap? So if it's a knowledge gap, it's more kind of training them with industry news, giving them resources. If it's a behavioral gap, it could partly be because that person doesn't really understand cybersecurity. But if it comes down to, I don't want to have a password manager or multi-factor authentication because I don't believe in it, then we have to tackle it in a different way. So it's different types of conversations, and it's working that out. So sometimes it might just be innate, this is how I feel about security. I don't believe in it, and I don't believe it's going to help me, so therefore I'm not going to do the training, or I'm not going to pay attention. So it's working that out as we go forward as well.
It's about understanding your audience, and
but
really tailoring it.
I think we're on the way, and
I think so.
Like I said, cybersecurity this year, cyber attacks all over the news, all in the media. It's no longer behind closed curtain. It really is at the forefront. I think next year, fingers crossed, there will be investment, and we'll be seeing, there's some big players in the UK in terms of cyber. I think we'll see more around Europe and the US. Everybody's innovating. Everybody's trying to come up with solutions to help businesses. So we just have to keep going.
Yeah. And one
Same with the NHS
yeah.
and healthcare in general.
Keep on going. And it's what you mentioned about we don't know necessarily what the future threats are.
Yeah.
Because, as we've seen with history, things happen so fast, and there is actually, innovation going on both sides of cyber, on the defensive side or the offensive one. So it's just about making sure you're just aware of what's going on. That's probably the key here.
We don't know what we don't know.
Exactly that.
And it's always the common phrase now, it's not preventing the cyber attack, it's how secure are we?
Yeah.
So it's actually looking, there's probably a 90% chance it will happen to every business in an industry, but now it's focusing on what do we have in place? The compliance,
how resilient are we?
Resilience, adaptability, compliance, regulations, policies, having playbooks, runbooks, etc. There's so many things in cyber, so many projects you can do across the board. So it's finding time it's fun times, taking that step back.
Oh yeah.
Seeing what we can do. But it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. Like I said, DTX, absolutely fantastic. If you get the opportunity to come,
Definitely.
I would really recommend to one of their future events, and I will speak to you all very, very soon. Bye.